Hey everyone, welcome to episode 11 of You Cannot Rewatch, the Evangelion Rewatch podcast. I am David.
And I am Dylan.
And did you know that we host this podcast? Oh, dang it.
What's that?
We're really stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a lot of reasons. But last week we kind of joked around about how we should make this a Halloween special.
Oh, crap.
And literally before we pressed record, you and me were talking about all these scary movies we've been watching, but we didn't talk about how we can make the podcast a Halloween special.
Well, shit.
What are we gonna do?
We're
doing this. We're doing it live.
We can do like spooky sound effects in like the background.
Okay, yeah, I'll just do like unnerving like
Right.
soundtrack.
Put
and stuff
put
to
like
this
a jump scare scream like halfway in the podcast somewhere.
I'll put it right now. Did that scare everybody?
Gotcha.
Again, this is an Evangelion podcast. Welcome. I should definitely put Halloween music under this.
Yeah,
so.
you should. This would be really funny.
I mean, I feel like almost all our episodes are just like us talking and not doing anything special. So I think every once in a while, maybe we could do like a special episode. And if people hate it, hey, it's like one episode out of the
Oh, you should also have like a spooky photo for like the recording on YouTube.
Oh, I should. I should like remix the usual photo and like do something
yeah.
creepy with it.
Let's
Yeah.
do
I'll look for like are there Evangelion creepypastas? I'm not actually entirely sure what creepypastas are. I think they're just like scary stories, right?
Yeah, I don't even
But
know.
they're
what that
usually based on like shows and like video games though.
Yeah,
Is that
why
right?
are they? Why are they called what they're called though? I don't know what that means.
I don't know. That's a good question. I hadn't thought about
Is it because
that.
like people like post them all over the place, so it's kind of like a copy paste thing? It is. People are just
Creepypasta?
yeah, people are just copy and pasting these stories all over the place.
I have no idea. But yeah, I don't know if Evangelion would fit into that category. Hey, you know what we should do on this podcast? I just realized, everyone you're hearing this, we should look for like really weird Evangelion fan fiction and read like parts of it on the podcast.
Yeah,
I don't know why we've never thought about that before.
Shit.
Next week we'll try to. I'm gonna write that down because I think that's a good idea. Hang on, I'm writing it. All right, I wrote it down.
So this is episode 11 that we watched.
So Evangelion is a Japanese anime that we've watched. Maybe you've watched it too. Hopefully you've watched episode 11 because we're gonna talk about it at some point. I don't know. We don't need to talk about it yet. What else you want to talk about? What's going on? How's the weather?
Pretty good. I guess it's kind of warm.
It's too hot.
It is getting really hot for being October.
Yeah, I'm ready for like shorts and hoodie season, and
Yeah.
it's not that.
Nope.
Yeah, it sucks. I can only imagine like how worse it probably is in some parts of the world.
Yeah,
I guess it's probably better in some parts of the world, but especially like a little bit south of us, I'm sure it's like terrible.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So speaking of hot, this episode starts in the laundromat.
Good segue.
Thanks.
Not where I thought you were going with it, but it worked.
I didn't know how to segue that. So apparently the Nerve staff are so busy at work they don't always have time to run home and do their laundry. So they go to a laundromat. I don't know why. I mean, Nerve is a huge facility. Is there really no
Laundromat on facility?
laundromat on facility?
Yeah.
I mean, I would think there would be.
I would imagine.
I guess Gendo didn't approve that order. They had to spend all their money on the Evas and like his gigantic office.
Yeah.
With nothing in it.
I'd like to see that conversation happen. Hey, can we get a laundromat on here? Get us just like
They should put a laundromat in his office. It's got plenty of
Oh,
space. I guess it'll ruin the aesthetic.
his office is weird as fuck.
Yeah, it is. It's like visually awesome,
Yeah.
but it's like so fucking impractical.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, everybody's in the laundromat. We see everybody's like taking the subway. I guess they don't really drive cars, which I think that's pretty common in Japan. But I mean, I don't know. I guess it's still common after the apocalypse, but I don't know. Who am I to say? Man, we started this podcast so weird. I'm like really like I'm really having a hard time getting into it now. We shouldn't have done such a weird opening. Sorry, everybody. So we find out that they talk about the Magi. This conversation is a little bit like I'm talking about the conversation on the subway when like the Nerve staff are talking to Fuyutsuki about the Magi system. This conversation is like a little too what's the word I want? I know there's a word for it, but I'm gonna seem dumb now. I can't think of it. Yeah, I guess on the nose. That's not quite what I was thinking of, but yeah, it's just too on the nose because like these staff. I mean, they already know this stuff, right? This is just a scene to explain something to the audience. And I don't really like when dialogue does that because it's like, I think dialogue should do that a little more cleverly, and Evangelion usually does. They're usually pretty abstract with the information they give you, but this is one of those times where they're just like, hey, I'm a nerve staff, but wait, the magic system? Oh, do you mean the supercomputers we have?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, the 3 supercomputers. They work together. Oh, yes, I remember the Magi, the supercomputer system that has 3 different entities. It's like,
Yeah.
you don't fucking talk like that if you both know what it is.
Which I think is so unusual because, like, I also think later on this episode, it gives information to people in, like, one of the best ways ever. So it's so weird it has so, like, contradicting things like, this one's so horrible. But then later on when the power goes out, spoiler, I think they get all the information out so well and everything happening.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there.
What?
Why they didn't do it.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just trying to get the story to go along as fast as possible. So like, here you go.
I guess. One thing I was gonna bring something later, but I'm bringing it up now. Last week we kind of talked about how Magma Diver was sort of a, like, kind of whatever, like, Saturday morning cartoon show.
Yeah.
And it's interesting watching this one because in some ways this feels like a Saturday morning cartoon show, but it's like the difference between last week and this week is last week was how you do like average, and this week is how you do like an awesome episode of that.
No, yeah.
Because this isn't still quite as good as like Evangelion's gonna get, but I really like this episode, and I feel like it's like that kind of a format done right. Like we saw it done wrong last week, and now they're doing it right. It's still a little cheesy. It's still a little fun. The kids are still kind of solving their own problem. But it's not like they're in a crisis situation. They're like, oh, yeah, chemistry. Remember our homework?
Yeah.
Like, when Asuka eventually does figure out how to, what we should do for this plan, first of all, it's not like a fucking math problem. It actually seems like something she probably learned in a training thing she would have done.
Yeah.
It actually seems like, that's what the pilots train for. We see them do training. It just seems like more natural. It seems more organic to her character and to the story rather than just being like, let's throw a chemistry lesson in here and have the kids figure it out to kill an angel.
Right.
But yeah, I think this episode just does a better job of doing that whole kind of a style of a show.
Right.
And also just this episode is really good with its cuts.
Oh yeah, that's
this episode has a lot of humor in it that's not like traditional jokes, but like just between the way it's cut, like it's really funny. Like right at the beginning, Fuji says like, "Oh, I hope the test goes well," and then hard cut to emergency warnings and like sirens going off. That kind of stuff is really funny, and this episode has a lot of cuts like that where it's just like they kind of set something up and then harsh cut to like how that went wrong or whatever.
Yeah.
This episode's really really well edited, and
yeah, because like I was saying before too, even not on the humor, but it does a really good job of letting you know what's going on, what's wrong, how they're trying to fix it, and what each character's doing. Because one character will bring up something and then immediately cut to something else, and they're trying to do that problem. And it does. Yeah. It's so amazing.
Yeah, this episode's really well done in that respect. A little bit back on track to some of the beginning of the episode, though. So we were talking about the magic system. We do find out in this episode they kind of run like everything.
Yeah.
Not just Nerve, but like everything. Like they don't have like city council or like really formal government anymore in this area. It's just like the Magi system is like its own democracy, which is interesting because I don't think that's something they really get too deep into in the show. But essentially, an AI has taken over the government.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, that's pretty crazy. They don't really go into that. I mean, usually Evangelion's about how it's more about how people respond to it all. But it's interesting that is like a piece of background information.
No, yeah, I guess they're just like we fucked up so much last time. We probably should leave anything up to chance.
Yeah, I guess, but. Still, I mean, Seele and Gendo are still the ones pulling all the strings anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah. So Shinji calls his dad and has a really nice, pleasant conversation with him about some kind of meeting or something. This is I don't feel like we've got really Shinji talking to his dad in a scene like this in a while.
Not really.
So it was almost like a little reminder of like, oh yeah, Gendo's like a really shitty dad.
Yeah.
Just in case everybody forgot. What else happens? So we find out, they say that once the power goes out, they say that they've only got like a few circuits left or whatever. I don't know how they'd have any left because they say even their emergency stuff is like all kind of...
they even call them like old circuits too, like as if they were like a different...
Yeah, I guess probably it's like run on their own generator.
Yeah.
So it's not connected to an external power source that could be shut off. You'd have to shut off the generators themselves. But I don't really understand why whoever's doing it. I mean, it's Kaji, right? Kaji did this.
Well, never actually ever. It never says in the whatever. Does
Oh,
it?
does it never say? I thought
Never
maybe
says.
we found out later, but I
No.
must have just assumed that.
Yeah,
Okay.
he never tells you.
Okay, I'm pretty sure Kaji does it. Because he's definitely slinking around
Well,
the
what I was-
Nerve HQ in this one.
What I was reading some background stuff was, a lot of people are saying there's a lot of speculation that it was Sele doing this actual thing.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. What I mean, say they may have been doing it through Kaji though too.
Well, I'll read you
Possible.
that's actually a good point here. I'll read you kind of an excerpt from the thing I was reading. Given that Sele orders the JSSDF to attack Nerve HQ at the end of Evangelion, and at the time the Ebola noted to Hego or whatever, that it seemed that Sele has been planning this attack far in advance by cutting Nerve's defense budget, it seems likely that the real culprit is behind the power of the sabotage. Just to kind of like get information and how stuff works.
Hang on, we can talk about that in a minute. I'm pretty sure when you were reading, you said Ebola.
I did say Ebola.
Is this gonna be? Is this a problem?
Yeah.
Ebola is a serious threat that we got to worry about. We should call the news and try to spread media panic. Anybody listening to this podcast, call the news and tell them Evangelion's about Ebola, and it's already infiltrated the United States. Yeah, I thought about that when I was watching the episode. The whole like when Sele sends in the forces later on to come kill everybody. I was definitely thinking about like they definitely probably used the layout they found out. But I still think they probably did it through Kaji because we know Kaji is like kind of working for everybody at this point.
He's
like
like
everybody's kind of hiring out Kaji, and he's like kind of sneaking behind everybody's back.
Yeah. So that's what I immediately thought it was him too, because this makes sense it was him. So
Yeah.
it's just like he's like a agent for everybody, dude.
Yep. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. But anyways, I was gonna say earlier when they say the circuits, when they have a few left, they do say that they should put them all into the Magi and Central Dogma. I don't know if we've heard about Central Dogma yet in the show.
I don't think so. I don't think
have we?
Yeah. No.
So that's kind of something they just kind of throw out there, and everyone's like, "Oh, cool, a big word. I don't know what that means." But that's obviously, if you've watched the show, you understand that's a pretty important place, and it's pretty important why they would want to keep some power to keeping Central Dogma locked down. What else? Okay, so the angel arrives. We've had a couple of 3, 2, 1. We've had a couple angels that really haven't been threats.
Yeah.
This one's a little more of a threat. It's not a total threat. Because the episode really is kind of more about like, why did the power go off? How are we going to get it back?
Yeah.
Less than like, let's stop the angel.
Exactly.
It's almost more like a background threat.
Yeah, the angel, like, in itself, if everything had been up and going and the power wasn't out, probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal.
Yes.
Especially since Shinji just blows that thing up so easily.
Yeah,
but,
I was going to get to that in a second. but I do like the design of this angel.
No, yeah, this angel's design is really cool.
I think this angel looks really cool and like kind of like creepy and shit. So, what else here? So, they say that I can't remember who said this. I should have wrote it down who said it. I think it's Fuyutsuki. Says that the first havoc to be caused to Nerve was done from man and not an angel.
Yep.
I don't know. That's not really anything to discuss. I just thought that was a cool line.
That was a cool line. That, by the way, that difference in quote from the dub to sub is like way cooler in the sub.
Oh, really?
Like, it sounds like really deep and like intellectual in the sub, and then it's just like really dumb and like.
What do they say in the dub?
I can't remember what is the dub. It's basically just like. I don't know. It is just like your typical man's worst enemy and stuff like that. Just like really typical like generic bullshit.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So we do have Shinji when they're crawling through. There's a great scene of them crawling through pipes with like big, like kind of not quite action music, but kind of like big action music going on.
Yeah.
And they're just like crawling through a
Yeah.
I really love that scene.
That's a good
but Shinji, while they're crawling around, questions, and this is the first time we've really in the show questioned this. Like, what are the angels?
Well, that's even like a continuing. He kind of continually brings that up throughout this episode too. Just even like in the last thing, being like, why are the angels attacking us? What are they and all stuff?
Yeah, what's so special about us? What do they possibly want with us?
Yeah.
Because I think, especially the first time I watched the show, for whatever reason, because when I first watched the show, I didn't realize how deep it was going to get later. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really thinking that hard about the show. I was just kind of watching it. And I never really thought about what are the angels. To me, you're used to Japanese shows with big things attacking. Yep. I don't always stop to question what they are, to be honest. I'm so used to it. I don't really care where Godzilla came from or, I don't know, some Gundam thing. I don't whatever. It's fine. And so, yeah, when Shinji kind of says that in this episode, I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, yeah, wait. Yeah, what the fuck are these things? Why haven't I been questioning this the whole time? So I think they kind of put that in there to kind of kick in that realization for people.
Yeah.
So we kind of start to see more of a growing rivalry between Asuka and Rei. I say rivalry. I guess to have a rivalry, both parties need to be involved. Yeah. So I don't know if it technically counts.
It's pretty one-sided rivalry.
It's pretty one-sided, but Asuka definitely wants to be the boss, and she definitely thinks less of Rei already. But Rei turns out to be right a lot more than Asuka. So we kind of see that like Asuka's arrogance is like, as we've seen before, with like when they fought the dancing angel when she first started jumping to battle. Asuka's arrogance is really a big downfall for her.
Yeah.
It almost got her stepped on by an angel in this episode. And but we do have. I mean, she does make the plan herself to defeat the angel.
Yeah, I kind of like that. Like, I guess it's kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but it kind of shows that it's the whole time you're kind of seeing Asuka just fuck up all the time, stuff like that. But then, like, once it comes to battle and actually she needs to be commander or something, she got to lock down right away.
Yeah, even though a lot of the time she can be irresponsible when she's trying to show off, like when it comes down to it, when push comes to shove, she has the ability to crack down and like focus and do something well. It just takes like getting her to a certain point and not like making her mad in between, because if she gets mad, then it all goes away.
Yeah.
But yeah, so their big plan to beat the angel is pick up their guns, throw them, and then shoot it. Which shooting an angel has not really worked out well before, but this time it works out really well. Yeah. It kills it instantly, actually, with no struggle. And maybe, because it's like the underside of the angel and like it was dropping the acid, maybe it had like a compartment like opened up or something that like they shot. I don't know what what I mean, but like it just seems so easy. It's we've talked about before, like, when in a show where you're going to have a continuing threat that's like coming over and over and over, the threat needs to escalate more and more. And it almost feels to the point where like we're rinsing these angels like easier and easier, which may be to like lull people into false insecurity. Like, hey, the angels aren't really a big deal. And then when they do come and they're a big deal, it's kind of like, oh shit. Yeah. It really hit the fan now. But yeah, even though I like this angel, it's kind of just like, whatever. And that was my last note.
I had a couple more notes on this. I think it's really good too. For example, like Shinji calls his father at the beginning. They have a horrible conversation, like don't bother me, and kind of annoyed by him. But then later in this episode, you see like Gendo get his hands dirty, and he's actually helping everybody like prepare the entry plugs and get all the stuff ready. Yeah. And then like Ritsuka says too, it's just like, oh, it's because your father had complete faith you guys would show up. Like he knew you would show up. Yeah. So it kind of shows you like the conflicting sides of Gendo, kind of like he's a bad guy but also kind of a good guy. Yeah.
Although Ritsuko might have just been saying that to like
make
falsely encourage.
Sure, but I mean,
Shinji.
Despite that, Gendo still get his hands dirty and like wasn't just bossing people around. Actually, like got down from command and helped people out.
That's true. I think this is the first time since we saw him in the flashback with Rei prior to the thing. Yeah. But this is the first time we've actually seen him, or at least Shinji has actually seen him like do something other than sit in a chair with his arms crossed. Right. Yeah. And what else you got?
Another really a great line you missed out on the dub was the line when they call the Tokyo 2 people bastards.
Yeah.
And the dub, the guy calls them Tokyo 2 buttheads, which is like the best thing ever.
Those Tokyo 2 buttheads.
It was a pretty good line.
That's awesome.
And there's, as much as I love this episode, there's one thing I hate about this episode. There's no Pin.
Yep, I was actually about to, I hadn't wrote that down, but I just thought of that. I was like, oh yeah, there's no Pin.
Not a Pin, man.
Not even a shot. Yeah, that's too bad. Like, obviously it wouldn't make sense for him to be in this episode, but it also didn't make sense for him to be shipped to a hot spring last time.
It didn't make sense at all.
Yeah, it's okay to have Pin just thrown in. All right, what you got? Anything else?
Nope, that's all I had.
Okay. There's gonna be another jump scare right here.
Oh shit, that was scary, man.
Yeah. Did you jump?
I did. I was really scared.
I was thinking about just throwing in jump scares randomly, but like I also don't want it like to be annoying for audio.
Yeah. So
we'll just do those two that I already said, so you know to expect them. I don't even know what I'm gonna put there. So hey, it's Halloween. Any Evangelion fans gonna do an Evangelion costume?
Ooh,
I haven't really seen anybody ever do yeah, like obviously not in person because I don't know almost anybody that has watched the show, but even online, I don't really think I've ever seen like Evangelion Halloween costumes.
No, not Halloween. I mean, I've seen cosplays. So I don't know if that counts.
Well, yeah, definitely cosplays for sure. So I guess maybe some people like carried over their cosplay to Halloween, but yeah, any of our viewers gonna go cosplay? That's gonna be a no.
Yeah.
But if you are, that'd be really cool.
Dude, I've actually been hearing a lot of people refer to dressing up as Halloween as cosplaying as things now. It's really weird.
That is really weird.
It's like, oh, for Halloween, my cosplays this. Okay. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but it's weird.
Yeah, that is weird. Dylan, if you were gonna dress up as an Evangelion character for Halloween, who would you dress up as?
Probably Gendo.
Gendo would be a cool one.
Just because I could get that beard he has.
Oh yeah. Shinji'd obviously be the easiest.
Oh yeah.
Just shave and wear like a white shirt. I mean, what else are you gonna do for Shinji? But it'd be so like bland and boring. Like, I mean, his design I think is purposefully like meant to be kind of ordinary.
Yeah.
Trying to think. I mean, Pin would obviously be the coolest one, but how are you gonna do that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Does anybody dress up as the Evangelions? I don't think I've ever seen that in cosplay.
I've
Like
heard of
actual
it, but I've
units.
never seen it.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I'm trying to think of like the most obscure character that wouldn't even make sense to dress up as, but I can't think of anybody. I guess Hikaru,
Maybe one of the
class
one
rep.
of the, yeah, or one of the technicians.
Yeah, maybe like the guy who plays guitar.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
I don't even know his name.
I don't know.
You could be the guy from the Jetalone episode.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one. Dress up as Jet
That'd be great. Oh, you could dress up as Asuka in her big fat suit if you're a girl,
Oh,
or I guess
yeah.
if you're a boy too, whatever you want to do. Probably easier if you're a girl and you're a redhead. This podcast has gone off the rails.
Yeah, if you're listening now, why? Why are you still listening?
But hey, we usually just like kind of cut to the chase on stuff. Every once in a while we just gotta talk. We're gonna stop now. So thanks for watching or listening, or you can follow this podcast at the usual places. All the stuff's in the description. And next week we're gonna be a little more sane. It's not Halloween anymore. See, the problem is it's Halloween, and like
we're too spooky right now.
We're all spooked out. I've been watching scary movies. I'm all jittered. I can't run a podcast about a Japanese anime about mechs. How am I supposed to do that? I just watched Ju-on last night. So fuck. Goodbye.
Later.